He was an Antiguan expatriate to Britain whose unsolved murder led to racial tensions in London. Cochrane was born in Antigua and had a failed marriage while living in the United States. Following this, he was deported back to Antigua on the grounds that he had stayed longer than allowed. He made the decision to move to England in 1954, arriving at the port of Plymouth before boarding a train to Paddington, London, where he made his home in the Notting Hill neighbourhood. He was a carpenter by trade and wanted to save enough money to go to law school. Death. After fracturing his thumb in a work accident, he attended Paddington General Hospital while walking home. Shortly after midnight on the 17th of May 1959, the 32-year-old Cochrane was set up at the junction of Goulburn Road and Southam Street by a gang of white youths who stabbed him with a stiletto knife. 3 other men arrived on the scene and the youths ran off. The 3 men took Cochrane to hospital where he died an hour later. His funeral procession on the 6th of June 1959 from St. Michael's and All Angels Church along Ladbroke Road to Kensal Cemetery was attended by more than 1,200 people. The context. Notting Hill was at the time a stronghold for Oswald Mosley's Union movement and Colin Jordan's White Defence League. In case you don't remember, Oswald Mosley was the guy who tried to march at Cable Street, where all the Jewish people lived before the start of World War II. The previous year, racial riots had broken out in the area. The detective investigating the cases was initially convinced that the youth's motive was robbery, but Cochrane's lack of money was explained by his fiancée, as Cochrane himself had emptied his wallet that morning. Searchlight magazine claims in 2006 that the police public denial of any racist motive was almost certainly a misguided attempt to ensure calm in the area. Local union movement member Peter Dawson later claimed to the Sunday's People that it had been a group of members who was responsible for the murder. Moses himself later held a public meeting on the spot where Cochrane had been murdered. Following the murder, the British government organised an investigation into the race relations chaired by Amy Ashwood Garvey. Does that anything else familiar? Yeah. Witnesses were likely to have seen the incident, however they were reluctant to report what they saw to police because they were concerned about the possible reprisals. Although killers were known in local circles, they were not named publicly until 2011, and no one was ever charged with the murder. The police were believed to have been complicit in the investigation, and there were some accusations of a cover-up. His murder was symbolic of the racial tensions that existed at the time, but also designed to unite a community. In his 2013 memoir, this boy, Alan Johnston, writes that his mother witnessed the prelude to the murder and recognized one of the gangs. More than 1,200 people attended Cochrane's funeral from all sections of the Notting Hill community, white and black. Following on the murder, the Home Secretary launched a public inquiry into race relations. Aftermath. From 1959, activist Claudia Jones organized events to celebrate Caribbean culture in the face of hate from the white racist, which are seen as forerunners of the first Notting Hill Carnival in 1964. A BBC Two television documentary broadcast on the 8th of April 2006 covered the first visit by Stanley Cochrane to England that year to try to find out more about his brother's death, and asked for police to reinvestigate. Steve Silver was in contact with the BBC researchers and wrote an article in Searchlighting. Coinciding with the program, later reported that he had heard from Kelso Cochrane's daughter in the US and was able to put her in touch with his uncle. Cochrane's murder is believed to have been led by a clan support of Oswald Mosley, who was planning a return of politics in the UK. Mosley polled under 3,000 votes in the Kensington North in the general election in October that year. In the wake of a 2021 petition by Cochrane's family demanding an apology for alleged failings in the investment of the murder, the Metropolitan Police confirmed that it was accessing historical material in connection with the case. So literally, a man moves from Antigua to America, gets kicked out of America, goes back to Antigua and moves to the United Kingdom, and he's murdered because of his race, because he's a Caribbean migrant, even though he was a British citizen at the time. And you also got to remember, like, this was 10 years after the start of Windrush. Windrush started in 1948, where like a large wave of Caribbean migrants came to the United Kingdom to fix up the country after World War II. This man, Kilcrew, was like the first wave of Caribbean migrants to the United Kingdom, and this was way before these countries ever gained independence. So these people were actually arriving on British passports as British citizens, British subjects. And then you know what happened with the rumor scandal. A lot of them who stayed in the UK, they never got to claim the citizenship, and they were like mistreated, kicked out, deported, died by suicide, died lonely death, penniless. It's horrible. So we're gonna go have a look around London to see what the blue plaque shows of Kelso's murder. This is the flag of Antigua and Barbuda, first hoisted when the country gained independence in 1981. This flag's going to be a bit significant later on today. Okay, I'm on the London Overground line, and I'm taking the Overground to... I'm getting off, look at this. Yeah, Kensal Rise, which is in Zone 2. So actually, you notice this link of the Overground does not go through Zone 1. See, if you go through Zone 1, they charge you extra money. So before you get on one of these trains, make sure you tap the pink Oyster card reader, which tells the system, hey, I'm not going through Zone 1. And so when you get off at any of these stops, it'll only cost you like, what, £2 or something. So I'm going from Stratford all the way to Kensal Rise. I've just made it out to Kensal Rise. Thank you, London Overground. That only cost me £1.80. Now I'm gonna make my way to Kensal Rise Cemetery. It's been almost like 5 long years since I was last in this area. Last time we came to Kensal Rise was 2018, where I went to visit the grave of Steve Took of T-Rex. There's a couple of famous people buried at Kensal Rise Cemetery. Even Freddie Mercury was cremated there, and there was once a plaque that was inserted at the crematory gardens that said Farrokh Posada, which some people believe that Mary Austin had put it there. It was only up for a couple of months and it was dismantled. Even the guy from Dead or Alive, Pete Burns, is also buried there as well. But I've got no idea where this Antiguan is buried, so I'll have to ask the receptionist when we get there. You see, Kensal Rise Cemetery is quite tucked away. It's like under a bridge in London. Yeah. Like, getting to it is a piece of cake. You just have to follow street signs. Like, literally, it's past a big wall over there. Just trying to figure out where's the main entrance of it. So the people at Kensal Rise Cemetery have given me a map, 2 maps, to show me where about is Mr. Cochrane buried and how to get there. And basically it just says follow this path and then try to find like a newer grave that has a number, and you should be able to find it. I mean, this cemetery, I'd say it's much larger than a Highgate. But best of all, like, you don't have to pay to get in. Charging money to get in the cemetery is a bit ridiculous. And would you believe that I've just stumbled across it, right? That's the wall of a cemetery, and this is the grave of Kelso Cochrane. His mosaic has really been damaged over time, and there's been a lot of dirt and dust here. But look at that, look how beautiful this mosaic is. This is a man who was born in Antigua, moved to the United States, started a family, was deported from America, and was part of the Windrush generation who came to Britain to fix up this country. He worked as a carpenter, and he wanted to study law. Then all of a sudden his dreams were taken away one night in 1959 by a group of racist thugs. It's quite sad how him being an Antiguan who had a British subject, he's not buried in Antiguan soil, but he was buried here. I guess you don't know what the situation was for the family. Maybe there wasn't enough money to send his body back to Antigua. Maybe it was best that they be buried here, just like with Blair Peach. So I'm gonna leave my Antigua and Barbuda flag right here in
memory of Mr. Cochrane. I'll put a little stone here. Actually, I should put a big stone there so it doesn't fly away. So it's nice for me to visit Kelso's grave, but hopefully with a bit of money we could be able to fix up his plot, because it used to look so beautiful many years ago, but now it's gone to a bit of despair. Rest in peace, Kelso. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go find the blue plaque that's put up to commemorate where Kelso was murdered in 1959. Now we're going to head a bit south into town. We're already cruising on Westminster. There's a blue plaque to commemorate the location where Kelso Cochrane was murdered, which, it's a sad reality to put up plaques where people were killed, but then again, it's much nicer to put a blue plaque up to say where somebody lived. I mean, but you see, with these blue plaques, what you gotta do is normally, it takes like 20 years to put one up after the person's been gone, but then they just commemorate so much of a person's life, and they teach you what a person did. Just crossing into North Kensington, part of the borough of Kensington and Chelsea. So, yeah, still in Westminster, I believe. Okay, but we're heading into Notting Hill area, where the famous Notting Hill Carnival happens every year at the end of August. So I was lucky to go to the Notting Hill Carnival a couple of years ago, and I had a good time, and then unfortunately COVID cancelled the last two, and then I was away in Africa like last year. So if I'm still in London around August, I will attend. If not, I won't. But you see, there are so much racist incidents that happened in London in the 1950s, and it caused people like Gloria Jones to stand up and say, hey, we have left our countries in the Caribbean and we want to set up our lives here, so let us be. And that's why they do Notting Hill Carnival, because it's a great way to, just showcase culture, like both, Afro-Caribbean and, African culture as well, yeah. Okay, so here it is. You probably can't read it from here, but it says Nubian Jack Community Trust, 1927 to 1959. Antiguan carpenter was fatally wounded on this site. His death outraged and unified the community, leading to the lasting cosmetology traditions in North Kensington. So this looks like this was installed recently and all, and it seems like Kelso Cochrane was murdered in this area. And the horrible thing is that people who witnessed the murder, they didn't go to the police in the first place. They feared if they had reported this incident, that they'd seen what had happened in 1959, then maybe the police wouldn't have done a good job. There were reasons to believe that the police basically covered up evidence, and the people who murdered him basically went scot-free. I don't like to compare things from like past events, but the death of Kelso Cochrane and the death of Blair Peach are both quite similar, because they both happened within London. But the murderers were never, well, I found out. I mean, literally everyone knows Blair Peach was killed by the police, but Kelso Cochrane was murdered by a bunch of racist bastards who were in line with Mosley, the idiot who tried to march at the Battle of Cable Street many years prior. So always remember Kelso Cochrane in your history books. Great guy. His daughter lives in America, I believe, and I believe his descendants and relatives are probably still around in Antigua right now as we speak. great nieces, great nephews. Anyway, this is Martin the Metalhead. Over and out.